Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And thank you, Arif Virani, for meeting with us today as our Member of Parliament for Parkdale High Park riding. I also want to thank you for your flexibility in moving the Vigil online in order for us to be able to comply with the stay-at-home order. So thank you very much. Our time together is going to be short, but impactful. Across the country, from St. John's, Nova Scotia to Victoria, BC, in over 40 federal ridings just like this one, there are vigils being held today on the eve of the Liberal Convention, and it's not by accident. We have lit our candles as an expression of hope that this time our most vulnerable citizens might be lifted up by the promise of a guaranteed livable income, a plan towards that action. Now, some of us use the term a universal basic income, but we are intentional in our language, for the commitment must be to a livable income. A guaranteed livable income, we think, is an important component of a plan needed if we're going to lift our siblings out of crushing poverty that has an effect on everything from food security to health and housing, employment, education, and income. And we are here holding a vigil and will be over the next few days for that hope. My name is Reverend Alexa Gilmore. I serve Windermere United Church, which is dedicated to an interfaith, intersectional approach to anti-oppression and poverty. This afternoon, you're also going to hear from Ayan Kailie, a Muslim community organizer and advocate around anti-oppression and anti-racism. Reverend Margaret Rodrigues is here, the coordinator for transgender ministries in the Diocese of the Anglican Church of Toronto. Reverend Ted Grady, our newest Neighborhood United Church minister, who just accepted a calling to Runnymede United Church. And Rebecca Holzman, a community leader in the Junction area. As a Jewish child of Holocaust survivors, Rebecca does important work in Holocaust education. And we are members of your riding who come from the spectrum of socioeconomic, religious, gender, sexual orientation, racial, and religious diversity. And this is because the guaranteed livable income affects us all. And because we have the firm conviction that the Parkdale High Park riding is ready to support a government committed to the guaranteed livable income. We are just so encouraged to see the NDP motion 46, the Liberal Private Members Bill C-273, and we also see the way that COVID has made it plain for what advocates like you have known for some time, that we are not all in the same boat together. We may be in the same storm, but some of us have yachts and some of us have dinghies, and some of us are drowning in injustice and hunger and poverty. And the people, for example, who are at my church using the food pantry at this very moment are some of the people that I am bringing with me to this vigil. We believe that the time is now to take a step forward to becoming an ever more compassionate, just country where everyone can thrive. So today we come to you as community leaders, bearing letters from ourselves and from our communities that we represent. Each letter is an advocate for guaranteed livable income. We also come bearing our candle, holding a vigil of hope. And I want to invite my sister, Ayan, to speak to you now about her hope.
Hi, Arif.
Hey there.
Hi. I've been on Swansea Parent Council for several years now. I believe I'm going on my 7th year. And as a school volunteer, I've seen firsthand how parents not having guaranteed livable income directly affects children's education. I've seen parents not sending their children to school on pizza day because they can't afford pizza. I've seen parents not being able to partake in their children's education or school programming because they're working 2-3 jobs. I also run three food programs in the community and feed about 100 families per week. And I see firsthand families who have multiple jobs struggling just to put food on the table. Food banks are not the answer. We need guaranteed livable income for everyone. Also, guaranteed livable income is one tool in a toolbox. We also need housing stock, child care, universal dental care. We also need to combat racism and discrimination in all their forms. Thank you.
And I want to invite my sibling, Margaret, to speak.
Thank you very much, Alexa. I want to put my remarks as an Anglican priest in the context of a large open letter that was sent to the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister Morneau about a year ago. And there were 41 Anglican and Lutheran bishops across Canada signed this. And they were writing in support of a universal basic wage, as they called it, because their shared faith convictions and their moral obligation is to care for the human condition of all people. So they wrote this letter a year ago to the Prime Minister and to the Liberal Party. And so I was asked to just speak briefly to you about a particular group of people who are the two-spirit, lesbian, gay, transgender, queer people, bisexual and transgender people in our society, because it's documented very clearly that they experience much poorer overall health. They have a much higher rate of physical and mental illness. They have a much higher rate of suicide. And many of them have experienced prolonged poverty and financial insecurity and homelessness. And they lack affordable housing. The deck is really stacked against them, you know, in society very badly. And so compared with the general population, the transgender and gender non-conforming people are, and it's a shocking statistic, are much more likely to experience aggression and in many cases murder and suicide in despair as a result of the situation they find themselves in. And when we ask ourselves what is something that could be done about this, and I've worked with the 519 and the trans people in downtown Toronto and so on, it's very clear that a lack of any kind of basic affordable income causes people's lives to go really to go completely off the rails, and they feel hopeless and helpless about doing something for themselves. And this also affects, of course, our Two-Spirit and Indigenous people across the country. So I'm here this morning in order to support the United Church's vigils across Canada for a guaranteed livable income, because I think it would make an enormous contribution to the safety and well-being and socioeconomic prospects for this particular group of people.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend, my brother, Ted.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Ted Grady. I'm a minister and speaking as a minister in the United Church of Canada, serving at Runnymede United Church. And I'm also speaking as a citizen of this country who cares for all people, not just the people of my congregation or denomination, but all people. As vaccines are distributed, there's much conversation about returning to normal or getting back to how things were. And I hope in this moment we might pause and hope for something better, because what was normal and how we were was not working for many people. Many people struggled to afford the necessities of life, even while working full-time, and for many who were challenged to find steady work for a variety of reasons. Every month means that they continue to fall further and further behind, and any idea of achieving a level of comfortability and sustainability just seems to grow more and more distant. This past year has been a challenge for so many reasons, but it has also shown us what is possible. We are a wealthy country with generous people, and we have demonstrated that when it is necessary, we can strive to make sure that everyone has some level of support and financial security to ensure that there is a level above poverty that we can make our goal for all people. A guaranteed livable income is not a guaranteed life of leisure. It is a guarantee of a level of dignity and respect that should be a right and what we want for all people. May we in this time join our voices and collective will to speak for those who have not been heard, and lift up those who cannot lift themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. And my sister, Rebecca.
And I do want to thank you for this opportunity to speak. As a child of 2 Holocaust survivors, I was raised and grew up with a strong sense of social justice, a common theme throughout Judaism. The commitment to Jewish values, ethical values, sustainability, and helping others, especially those in need. The sustainable living wage for everyone is an issue that encompasses all of those values and commitments. Within Judaism, we are taught to speak up and champion the poor and the needy, to extend our hands to the downtrodden. We have an obligation to help those in need become self-sufficient and to fight against inequality of all kinds, including economic inequality. A sustainable living income would assist in the paying for the basic necessities of life so people could live with dignity. It could help end poverty within our country and communities. It would provide essential workers with our support, especially critical at this difficult time in the midst of a worldwide pandemic. And it would address the growing needs of our vulnerable and give all of us the opportunity in contributing to the common good. Today, on Yom HaShoah, when we light memorial candles, and on this Vigil day for this important issue, it is my honor to present you with this lit candle to shine a light on the issue that we must remember and fight.
Thank you. My friend, my brother, and our elected MP, Arif, you first swept into my life when there was a family in desperate need. And your big yes to the call for dignity and freedom and hope was an inspiration and a brave and courageous act. The government that you serve did another brave and courageous and hopeful act in providing CERB at a time where people were desperate and jobs were lost and people did not know where to turn. And we have watched, and with gratitude and with enthusiastic support for those efforts, both yours in this riding and the government as a whole. And you have heard from us today our prayerful hope that this work of justice, this work of lifting up our siblings so that we might be a place where everyone can thrive, can carry on. And we hope that you will take these words from your constituents into your weekend ahead and into your life as our representative. And I would invite you to speak from your own heart to this vigil today.
Sure. So thank you, Reverend Alexa, and thank you to all of you in terms of what you just provided. And it's poignant and it's touching and it reflects all of your different varied experiences. And it's a message that's sinking in. And it's not, the first thing I would say is that it's something that we have been hearing about for some time now. And it's definitely crescendoing a little bit right now. So your vigil is well timed, I would say. I think it's important, sort of the dimensions that you've raised, you know, from what Ayan mentioned about the disproportionate impact on racialized people, people of color, including people that are right here in Swansea. That it resonates with me as a fellow person of color. I think the fact that this is coming at us from multiple faith angles demonstrates that this is not a United Church niche issue, far from it. I hear from this about this issue from people from religious walks of life, but also from completely non-religious walks of life, and indeed from every sort of faith and every sort of community. Reverend Grady, I want to say welcome to Runnymede United. It's a terrific church. I know you'll go toe-to-toe with Windermere for finding out who's the better United Church in the riding, but you guys are both great churches. And Margaret, shoulder to shoulder. There you go. And Margaret, thank you for your perspective as well, because it's an important one in terms of disproportionate impacts on sometimes maybe less obvious communities, including people who are gender non-conforming and LGBTQ too. What I can say to you, sort of, in Alexa and I have a very good relationship, and I've always tried to be extremely honest with her, is that for those of you who know anything about me, you know that I'm a Muslim refugee who came to this country and became a human rights lawyer and then a parliamentarian. So you've got immediate sympathies just at the outset, just out of the gate. What I hear from my government colleagues is that, you know, there's a little bit of a tension, right? I'm just going to be straight with you guys, that between sort of what looked like a stopgap with CERB to address the need to ensure that people could clothe and feed themselves and take care of all of those acute physical needs that you guys have articulated, and also encouraging people to stay at home and not go into the workforce to meet those needs, because that's what the pandemic required at that point in time. And that's juxtaposed against sort of what the world looks like when we come out of it. And I was taken by what Reverend Grady mentioned when he said, you know, it's not just about returning to the status quo ante. I'm sorry to sound like a lawyer, but I am also a lawyer. But it's about actually thinking about how we can reconceive of things. And I'm with you on that. And I believe in it in many manifestations, whether it's with respect to systemic discrimination or climate and protecting the environment, et cetera. This one is a bit of a large piece, which is a bit of an understatement, because, you know, I think Ayan mentioned there's other programs that need to complement it, and that's right. A dental program, a pharmacare program, housing programs. But when you take those and juxtapose them against sort of a guaranteed livable income, it's really still manifestly larger, like exponentially larger. And that causes some trepidation. I'm just being candid with you guys. Some trepidation amongst elected officials, but also amongst sort of departmental officials in Ottawa who tend to be small c conservative at the best of times and wanting to sort of do things that they understand how to do. Because this is a big concept. But it's one that I think definitely merits consideration. I've looked at some of the items that you mentioned, Alexa, right at the outset, including Bill C-273. I was quite disparaged when the pilot project that was running provincially in this province under Kathleen Wynne was dismantled sort of midstream by the current provincial government. I thought that was an injustice, because we were collecting the data that we need to evaluate this kind of program. And I have no trouble with sort of with advocating for a strong consideration of the issue, developing sort of plans on how it might be possible, studying it, looking at it, and maybe even proposing some sort of pilot. But coordinating, as you've seen, I think somebody mentioned vaccines. I think Reverend Ted mentioned vaccines. Sometimes there's amazing cooperation with all of these provincial governments and territories, and sometimes there isn't. And it sort of ebbs and flows. Sometimes it feels like it's week to week or day to day. But trying to coordinate this on a massive national level is going to require a lot of intense cooperation. And that's something that we would need to work on. Doesn't mean it's not achievable. I mean, we know in the context of medical care, it starts with an idea in Saskatchewan, and all of a sudden it becomes national over a matter of not too many years. So there are possibilities, and there's even precedent for these kinds of programs. But that's sort of the lay of the land that I see it from our perspective. I will draw attention to this at the convention that's coming up. I will draw attention to this in Ottawa with my colleagues, and know that in terms of reassuring you, in terms of the path that you're on, I've heard support for this cause from people that I do not normally hear from in the Liberal Party or even in Ottawa, sort of not your erstwhile progressives, but just sort of run-of-the-mill parliamentarians who are actually getting behind this idea and giving it a hard look, which is, I think, is a very good sign, because it shows that it's gathering some momentum. So sorry, I've spoken a lot, but you gave me a lot to chew on. Those are some very good points. Back to you, Alexa.
We are grateful for that and for your commitment to raise this both at the convention and in Ottawa. We do understand that this is a place where people fear sometimes to tread, that there is trepidation. And as people of faith, and as you may know yourself, the medical care system started with people of faith. We have been here before, and we have a lot of belief, and we are here to support that work that you and others will do. And so we are lighting our candle, and in fact, we have a blessing that we are going to send one another out with that I put on a PowerPoint. Yeah.
Can I raise one point that actually would assist me, is that to push back on those that are maybe less taken by the moment, it's usually sort of a cost-benefit analysis, like raw numbers. So to the extent I was on your United Church website, but to the extent you have sort of economic critiques that sort of show that when you aggregate it all and centralize it, it actually can be a cost benefit, like it can be a cost savings. That's information that would be useful to me. And I apologize if it's already on your website, but if you could send that to me, that would be helpful.
We will send that to you along with the letters from each one of us representing our communities. And some of us have gathered letters in our communities. We will send all that support with you. And I will certainly get that information to you. We are also going to send you, but not just you, one another, because we know that this is all our work to do, with a blessing. I've put this on PowerPoint. I'm going to invite you to whatever extent you are comfortable to say these words out loud to one another. But let us send one another from this place, saying together, may God bless us with discomfort at easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that we may live deep within our hearts. May God bless us with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so that we may work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless us with tears to shed for those who suffer pain, rejection, hunger, and war, so that we may reach out our hands to comfort them and turn their pain to joy. And may God bless us with enough foolishness to believe that we can make a difference in the world, so that we can do what others claim cannot be done, to bring justice and kindness to all, while walking humbly with one another and with God. May it be so.